मैंने हेलो वन टू टू हेलो चेक वन टू हेलो हेलो ठीक है बाहर ही कर होगा
This block. Hey, outside this Sivan hall near outside auditorium. Auditorium. Alright, low bottom. Alright, low bottom. Okay, लोग उठ के जाने लगेंगे, people start moving, then you know, transcendence na with you come closer to the session. Thank you all for your participation. Looking forward to see you all next year. You have to what is looking forward. I'm looking. Thank you all for your participation. I'm looking forward to the future to see you all in the next future events. You all forward to see you all in the future events of my exciting. Next year or future events? Future. The future. Thank you. That's हो गया. Very good afternoon to all of you. And then we can repeat this if you want. I will just you be around. I know you'll do it. I'm doing for the first time, Veena. I know. Your papers. You look good, I know. So you're ending the valedictory. So you have become you have been late, sir. All the everyone has gone outside. Sit. Vidya, you want Even before starting class, yes, student.
आगे 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 आ, एक सौ
Should I stand here on this? Should we start, sir? Very good afternoon to all of you. As we come to the conclusion of the second national conference, it is my privilege to welcome you all to the valedictory session. I take this opportunity to welcome the Honorable Chairperson of the session, Professor TCA Anand, former Chief Statistician of India and distinguished visiting professor at ISIT. Sir, if I may kindly request you to join the dais. I welcome Professor Nagesh Kumar, Director ISID, to kindly join the dais. I also request the coordinators of the conference, Dr. Anjali Tandon, Associate Professor ISID, and Dr. Santosh Das, Assistant Professor ISID, to join the dais. I request Professor Nagesh Kumar to kindly felicitate our chairperson, Professor TCA Anand. I now invite the Honorable Chairperson of the session, Professor TCA Anand, to kindly take over the proceedings of the valedictory session. Over to you, sir.
Yes, sir. ये कब ठीक है Oh, thank you. So we come to now almost the end of what has been a very rich 3 days of discussion. I'm sure all of you have benefited from it, taken back ideas, and some of those ideas we hope will get converted to more research for the conference next year. Uh, Before I request Anjali to give the report of the conference, I would like to make a couple of small observations. I said the conference has been extremely exciting, but I have a statement which I make in a lot of conferences where I attend. I would like that people who have presented papers, particularly many of them are young scholars who are doing their PhDs or just immediately after their PhDs, to take the trouble to convert what you have submitted here into publications. Nagesh tells me that they will be writing to some of them to convert it into a publication as a book. With the others, I would urge that you should take the advice of the discussants and so on and try to convert it for publications elsewhere, because in general the value of the conference is enhanced if more of these papers get published. uh, we are planning to bring out eventually a journal uh, for industrial statistics, industrial economics and industrial statistics, which will be a place where such papers can be published. Right. Because there has been a feeling that we lack a regular journal focused exclusively on issues relating to industry. So that's something which we should do. And last conference, we had said we will try to do it. Nagesh has some suggestions which he'll make when he makes his remarks. So I would like your support in these efforts as we go forward. So I don't have much to say. We've had a lot of discussion on various issues. Anjali will summarize them as best as she can. And so I'd like to thank all of you for being here and patiently listening to all of this. So thank you. Anjali, you have the floor. Do you want this or you want to go there?
You can go there. Yeah.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Professor Anand. So I was asked to summarize the conference, which has happened over the last 3 days. And we've had quite a few technical sessions, plenaries. A lot of papers were presented, topics were discussed, and three highlights of the conference were also the inaugural address by Professor Nageswaran, the launch of the India Industrial Development Report, and the presentation of another ISID study on labor-intensive sectors. Having said so, if I were to briefly summarize the conference, I have just one sentence to summarize it all, which is industrial policy is making a comeback. So that's what we gathered from all our discussions over the past 3 days. But then this brief summary fosters curiosity as to what actually has led to revived interest in industrial policy and what should be a good recipe of an industrial policy which would in future effectively lead towards an industrial transformation of India. And this is exactly what the discussions over the last 3 days have tried to answer in some way or the other by looking through different lenses of GVC, FDI, innovation, labor intensive, SMEs, Industry 4.0, and everything else that was talked about. So if I was to start talking, a substantial part of our discussion during the conference was towards why is there a revived interest in industrial policy? And there were quite a few answers for this. First of all, the critical role of growth of industrial sectors is actually in the recognition of their role in productivity improvement, job creation, income growth, and poverty recognition. Specifically for countries like ours, the compulsions of industry-led growth cannot be overstated. The employment elasticity of agriculture, as was discussed by Professor Deepak Nair, is negative, and the services, even though leading the national growth, have a skewed distribution in terms of skills, productivity, and the quality of jobs, which makes it challenging for the predominantly unskilled workers to find better quality, higher paying, and more productive jobs within the broader service sector. The experience has shown that industrialization has led to greater per capita incomes, addressing the issues of labor income. Another reason in favor was cited, which has been that external conditions, as they have unfolded over the recent years, have turned around rapidly with globalization, restructuring of global value chains, and the emphasis on net zero commitments. In effect, these challenging conditions tend to be both restrictive and challenging. For India, as elaborated in the India Industrial Development Report that was released on day one of the conference, these challenges actually present opportunities as we have the largest domestic market in house. Many industry experts during the conference have shared the importance of an India strategy as part of their global strategy of the multinationals. India also benefits from a friendly network to support the friendshoring initiatives, along with the possibility to invest in leapfrogging to catch up on the agenda of sustainable industrialization, as was emphasized by Dr. Ajay Shankar. Also, a large number of global capacity centers, which are typically R&D units of multinationals, are situated in India. All this only points to India's potential to industrialize, as was discussed during various sessions and by papers. Speakers at the conference exuded confidence in the Indian economy in terms of its improving innovation rankings, higher number of patents per capita income, increasing export of high-tech goods and complexity of exports, and higher education expenditures to encourage future research for success in all other areas as well. At the same time, some areas of concern were also pointed out, such as the inhibitions to business, preventing foreign corporates from investing in domestic manufacturing, despite India's having an open FDI regime. It was also discussed, is the new approach to industrial policy somehow different from the older one? And the answer was yes. It was said and discussed that the old school IP industrial policy was mostly introduced by the laggard countries as a strategy to catch up as a catch up mechanism, whereas the new industrial policy is mostly dominated by the leading and industrialized economies in their quest to maintain their leadership and retain their domestic jobs. Also, the distinguishing feature is the retaliatory nature of the industrial policy, as there has been a positive correlation between old industrial policy and new industrial policy. For instance, sectors which were influenced by industrial policy in the past have also witnessed some measures of industrial policy in the new regime as well. And similar is the case with subsidies. We also discussed during the conference what are the key requirements for an industrial transformation. An industrial policy is needed where the market fails. For instance, to establish an infant industry or wider knowledge spillovers or for skilling initiatives and some similar things. As aptly put by Dr. Nageswaran in his keynote address, industrial transformation can be achieved through improving competitiveness, which should be based on innovation leading to better quality and standards, and by lowering the costs. Another must have for industrial transformation, he pointed out, is the adequate supply of affordable energy. A thriving SME sector is equally important due to the range of activity it covers in the economy, the inputs it feeds into other consuming sectors, and also the number of people it employs, particularly women and those in the lower spectrum of the overall skill matrix. And also needed for the process is a continuous development of the invisible part of infrastructure, which he said is the human capital infrastructure. But most importantly, he pointed out that achieving internal productivity improvements are the key to growth rather than only relying on current mechanisms such as currency depreciation to maintain cost competitiveness. If I were to phrase some other parts of discussion, the question that we answered was essentially what should then be the recipe for an industrial policy that is effective in achieving the goals that are more than one and also can be conflicting at some time or the other. So, the kind of answers that we gathered from our discussions, the industrial policy should be practical and well coordinated with trade policy, monetary exchange rate policy, and industrial financial policies, which often tend to operate at arm's length with each other. Policy instruments such as PLI incentives have been used to scale up by overcoming cost disadvantage. However, it needs to be borne in mind that these provisions are tenured and they're going to die soon or sometime in near future. Therefore, it becomes imperative to address the underlying shortcomings as well for long and sustained growth. There is need to ensure that PLI stretches its arms beyond the well established assembly functions and succeeds in initiating deep manufacturing. For this, the industrial policy needs to run and execute itself in a way so that the disabilities are removed and so that the entrepreneurs choose manufacturing as a profession, as was highlighted by one of our industry representatives during the conference sessions. Ground experience that were shared were often opposite of the stories that emerged based on rankings improvements, suggesting that more and deeper engagement of the government with stakeholders will help to resolve issues which actually are on the ground. Throughout the conference proceedings, our deficit in domestic R&D remained a topic of discussion. The R&D expenditure has to be scaled up in a targeted manner for our country. And for this, tax incentives and holidays were cited to be possible sources of encouragement for the private sector. At the same time, the experts and participants also flagged concerns about higher transportation costs, the artificial intelligence euphoria, the skill deficits, all of them suggesting the need for a multi pronged approach under the industrial policy. How can the industrialization process be more inclusive through sustainable initiatives and for SMEs was another aspect that we got some answers on. First of all, it was emphasized by participants that economic growth is necessary, otherwise, we don't generate the necessary resources which we require for green transitions. This requires us to focus on heavy industries, which are fundamental for growth and expansion. But also important is to work in the areas of fuels of the future, such as the batteries and critical minerals, which are presently concentrated in few countries, which also happen to be under some or the other geopolitical conflicts. Therefore, there is need to diversify the supply chains, particularly the green tech supply chains. It was also discussed at the conference that improvements in scrap cycling and recycling and a circular approach to the materials already in use would be helpful to reduce these pressures on material requirements. For instance, the lighthouses have demonstrated success in decreasing the output spread in some heavy industries. For SMEs, it was discussed that the fusion of green tech can be supported through scaling of cleaner technologies within the clusters. The success of cluster-based incentives for SMEs has been an encouraging experience, as was discussed during the conference proceedings. The last which I would like to cover in my summary is the challenges of Industry 4.4 that were discussed, were also discussed in terms of the adaptability of the Industry 4.0 solutions to future technologies such as cobots, the demand for complex and technology skills, and how they would impact the overall labor market. With this, I've tried to summarize almost all aspects which I thought would be important to share on the closing day. I'm sorry if I've missed out any important and crucial insights. So these areas offer a lot of scope for future research for new and young scholars and for faculty members, colleagues, research, academia, which can be taken forward in due course of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Anjali. You've done a very difficult job of trying to summarize what was an extremely rich and large discussion over the last 3 days. Uh, may I now request Professor Nagesh Kumar to make his closing remarks for the conference?
Thank you, Chair. I think, first of all, we all agree that the summary presented by Anjali very ably picked up all the takeaways, major takeaways from the discussion of 3 days. I was actually wondering how on earth anybody can sum it up in, in such a sort of concise manner. And she has done a wonderful job. So give her a very big round of applause. Secondly, I have two or three things in mind to just raise here, which are all about the outcomes of this conference series that we have started. Many of you were present in the last years or the first edition of this conference. At that time, we didn't have any clue how it would play out and whether we would have the second round in just exactly a year or in 2 years and all. But the response we received was so overwhelming. We were very much encouraged by the response of last year's conference. We felt that we should continue this momentum. And Professor K.L. Krishna, who unfortunately had to slip out for an urgent meeting, unexpected urgent meeting, so he uh, was one of those who encouraged us that we should not allow this momentum generated by that conference to die down and keep it up. And as you know, Professor Krishna is kind of the father of industrial economics in the country. I mean, he has taught our chairperson, myself, and some very senior people who are running the government and running IMF and World Bank and whatever you name. So present managing director of IMF, for instance, is a student of Professor Krishna. And you name, any organization wherever there are Indian economists and senior positions, very likely to have been taught by Professor Krishna. And so I took his word very seriously when he said that keep this momentum up. So we discussed in house whether we should have these conferences every year and all. So there were mixed views. Some felt yes, some felt that we should do it once in 2 years. But after reflection, uh, I thought we should do it annually. So this year, when we advertised, you all responded. We were again felt very reassured that there is niche for something like this, and we are happy that all of you came and contributed to it, enriched the discussions. And what I was impressed with is that we called it a national conference, but you made it truly national conference, came from all different parts of the country, which is very interesting, very heartening for me. So it is not dominated by Delhi based people, but from all over the country. That is very impressive. We also discussed some follow up actions last year. You recall. One was that we will publish something out of this, and the other was that we will form an association of industrial economics. So, on both of these fronts, we have something to report. And firstly, on publications. So, we followed up with some of you. I mean, we had some 69, 70 papers presented in technical sessions last year. We further reviewed them and picked up 17 or 16 or 17 out of them. And we thought they were of very high quality. They fitted in a kind of a theme, a coherent theme could be built around them. So we approached a couple of publishers to publish them quickly. And Rootledge said they will take at least a year, but Springer said we can do it in 3-4 months. And actually, they tried to bring the volume for launch at this conference, but because of air quality, all issues of, in the last minute, they kind of gave up that, could not meet the deadline, but they are working on it. And I think January, February, they say we'll be ready with the volume. So the volume is very much coming out. And some of you who contributed to those papers, we have been in touch with. So thank you for complying with the deadlines, which we had very strict deadlines by the publishers, because they said, if you want us to do it by November, the conference, then you have to do it by this date. And so the volume one output is coming out. The other sets of outputs we worked on was, all of the plenary discussions, the policy roundtables of last year's conference were converged or converted into policy briefs. They are all on our website. And so each one of you must have gone through them. So the idea was that what came out of the discussion is distilled into these policy briefs, and it stays for future, for dissemination, because not everybody can be in the room anytime, So that was another output. So a volume and a set of policy briefs, 5, 6 of them have been issued, and they are on website. And the third was Industrial Development Research Association. So we all discussed, and all of you very strongly supported that we form an association. So I had asked one of my colleagues, Akhilesh Sharma, to look into, the memoranda of association of such, research associations, and draft something which could be taken forward. So I, would like to invite Mr. Dr. Akhilesh Sharma to present. Basically, we have followed the template provided by the Societies Registration Act, and drafted it or adapted it to our objectives, which is to promote industrial economics or industrial development research in the country. And so, Akhilesh, maybe you can brief them, and then I will come back to rest of my comments. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Good evening, all. Uh, the name of this society shall be Industrial Development Research Association. This is as
Yeah, this is what we actually discussed last year.
yeah. And legal status, the association shall constitute a self-contained entity having perpetual life and succession, and by which it can sue or be sued. So it will be a legal entity under the society registration, and its registered office will be at ISID. And its aims and objectives are the particularly to encourage research on industrial development and related subjects, to serve as a forum for intellectual discussion on issues pertaining to industrial development and related subjects among various stakeholders, including researchers, academicians, policy analysts, social activists, business associations, and government bodies. To undertake, promote, and facilitate research and teaching in the areas of industrial development and related subjects, to disseminate information, knowledge, and results of research on all matters within the scope of its objective through publications, seminars, conferences, workshops, and lecture series. To publish and issue papers, journals, proceedings, reports, and books, including e-books and electronic publications on industrial policies, industrial development, and allied subjects. To organize conference, seminar, workshops, and training programs. So these are the 6
Yeah.
objectives briefly we have.
So I think this is all draft, as of now. So you have any suggestions on this? Please feel free to, because we can still incorporate anything you want to be added or deleted, or you agree with it, then we can move ahead. Any suggestions, or you think it is? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Advocacy. Okay. Yeah. Good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
So please add something on advocacy, research and advocacy.
Research and
Yeah.
advocacy. Okay.
Good. Good idea. Okay. And as you agreed last year, ISID will anchor and support it. So it will operate from here, and this institutional infrastructure will remain available to this association. And so,
And we have made the list of few desirous persons that Professor Nagesh has previously discussed with them. Professor K.L. Krishna.
So let me just give a background.
Yeah, please.
The Society Registration Act requires that at least 7 people sign up on the initial memorandum. And so, and of course, everybody else will become member, but original signatories, who apply together as to form an association, who will they be? So we thought of inviting some very senior people. You can maybe mention all of these people, and then any additional names you want to put. Of course, once the society is registered, everybody will be invited to become member. But the signatories who have, who will apply together to form this association is something to be discussed and approved. Yeah.
Should I mention the name?
Yeah, please.
Professor K.L. Krishna, former director, Delhi School of Economics, Delhi University. Professor Deepak Nair, distinguished professor, Council for Social Development, New Delhi.
Mr. Former Vice Chancellor from Delhi University.
Delhi
Many
University.
affiliations.
Many
Yes, sir.
that will be a full page.
Yeah, yes, recent I have just put.
Yeah.
Mr. Ajay Shankar, a distinguished fellow, TERI. He has
And-
also former,
Also ISI.
also ISID and former secretary. Yes, sir. Professor T.C. Anand, former chief statistician, Government of India and visiting faculty at ISID. Professor Nagesh Kumar, director ISID. Professor C. Veeramani, director Center for Development Studies, Trivandrum. Professor Vinesh Kathuria, director Institute of Development Studies, Jaipur. Professor M. Suresh Babu, director Madras Institute of Development Studies, Chennai. Professor Nityananda, director Council for Social Development, New Delhi. Professor Suma Athreya, head School of Public Policy, IIT Delhi. Dr. Satkira, faculty ISID, and Dr. Akhilesh Sharma, faculty ISID.
So this is the initial list we thought of, but any other senior people's name, if we have missed out and you have any suggestions, please feel free to mention. We can happily add. There are now 12 in number.
12.
So we have, the minimum requirement is 7. So we already have 12. And so I think it's a very good list, so we can move ahead. We wanted to get heads of some institutions around the country, and so some of these, Professor Veeramani, Professor Kathuria, Suresh Babu, Nityananda, so different institutions which have some strengths in industrial development. We thought of inviting them to be the original signatories. Any names that you feel we should add and ask them if they would like to sign on? If none, then we move ahead, I think.
You want to say, Bina? You want to say anything?
Sorry? Professor Golden. Okay, Golda. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Who? Arup Mitra. Okay. Yeah, Padmini Swaminath. Yeah. We can ask them. It's up to them to. Okay. Okay, so then what else you want? Yeah.
Brief,
Yeah.
regulations about
Yeah.
briefly
Yeah.
I will discuss with you.
Yeah.
Because it is the mandatory to submit the bylaws or rules and regulation while registration of a society. So I will just briefly discuss few important points that we can, in the given the time, we can discuss. The membership. Uh, Membership shall be open to persons and institutions interested in industrial development and related issues in general and industrial economics in particular. It shall be especially open to researchers, academicians, students, policy analysts, social activists, business associations, industrial and commercial establishments, and government departments dealing with issues pertaining to industrial development. And the association shall have following categories of members: life members, ordinary members, international individual members, institutional members, and student members. So anything if you suggest that we can include as a in the membership that can be the members of the association, you may also suggest. Uh, I broadly mentioned that broad it can cover people. And we have also listed the eligibility, and life members and ordinary members will have the voting rights in the general body, and students and institutional members will not have, but they will attend all the conferences and the meetings. And general bodies shall have the at least one meeting in the every years. So these are the few brief things, and other things also I have included the composition and functioning and executive committees, and the organizations will be the general body, executive committee, and the office bearers. And in the office bearers we will have the one president and two vice presidents, and one vice president will be elected, and one vice president will be the ex officio director of the ISI. This is what we are proposing, since it will be registered at ISID, so that we can easily manage its functioning and efficient functioning in the coming years. So that's why it is our position. And honorary secretary, and there will be the honorary treasurer. So these are the this will be the office bearers. So anything else today?
Then membership of the executive committee and office bearer.
Okay. The members of executive committee and office bearers shall be elected by the members of the general body, as detailed below. The following office bearers shall be elected by the general body for a period of 3 years: president and vice president of the association, and honorary secretary and the treasurer. 6 members of the executive committee shall be elected by the general body for a period of 1 year with appropriate representation to different regions of the country: north, west, south, central, east, and northeast. So we are trying to have the geographical representation from the different regions in the executive committee. It can be. And functions of the executive committee: the executive committee shall monitor and control the functioning and activities of the association, receive, consider, and evaluate the reports of activities, audited statements of accounts, budgets, etc., control and manage the funds of association, take decision for entering into agreements with any other organizations, government or non-government, that the association may deem necessary or desirable for the attainment of aims and objectives. So this is basically all the measures decisions will be taken by the executive committee. And administration of the association: the executive committee shall regulate the procedures of the association and administer the same as below. It shall meet at least once in a year. All decisions made in meetings of the executive committee and the general body meetings shall be recorded, and minutes prepared by the honorable secretary. The honorable secretary shall manage the affairs of the association and carry out all correspondence, proper records, and place before the meetings of the executive committee such materials and information as may be necessary. The decisions shall be made by the majority vote. In case of a tie, the casting vote of the president shall decide the matter. The quorum of the meeting shall be one third of the members at any point of time, but this rule will not be applicable to an adjourned meeting due to lack of quorum. If some meeting is adjourned, then that will be not that quorum may not be applicable. But uh, one third members is the necessary for as a quorum of figure. And finances, the treasurer shall receive and have custody of the funds of the association, subject to the rules of the executive committee. The source of finances for the association shall be membership fee of the association from various categories of members, grants, donations, gifts, etc. Surplus from publications of the journal of the association and sell proceeds of publication surplus, if any, out of the annual conferences. The financial year of the association shall be from April to March. All the income, revenues, earnings of the association shall be solely utilized towards the promotion of the aims and objectives of the association, and no portion thereof shall be paid or transferred by way of dividends, bonus, profit, or any manner whatsoever to the present or past members of the association. So all the finances will be used for only the fulfillment of the objectives of the associations. No member of the general body, executive committee, or office bearer shall have any personal claim on any wealth or income of the association or make any profit whatsoever by virtue of the membership of the association. The accounts of the association shall be audited by an auditor recommended by the executive committee and approved by the general body. The Honorable Secretary shall present the executive committee members a report of the activities of the association for the year. The audited statement of accounts of the association along with the report shall be prescribed by the treasurer after approval of the executive committee, which shall be presented to the general body of the members for final approval. He or she shall have the power to open account or public accounts in the name of the association in bank approved by the executive committee. Two following office bearers shall jointly operate the account of the association: vice president, honorable honorary secretary, and honorary treasurer. Here, vice president, we are putting it that the vice president who is the ex officio director of the ICID. Because it will be easy for the managing the accounts and the financial flow of the association. And functions of the honorable secretary. The honorable secretary shall be the principal executive of the association and shall be entitled to institute or defend legal proceedings for or against the association. He or she shall have the authority to make temporary or part-time appointments of staff members of the association, subject to subsequent confirmation by the executive committee. He shall have such other powers as may be necessary for properly conducting the affairs of the association, such as carrying out correspondence, signing documents, etc. He or she shall have such emergency powers as may be determined by the executive committee, either by special resolutions or under bylaws or rules framed by the purpose. Association will also have a common seal and legal contracts and proceedings. All contracts signed or approved by the executive committee shall be signed by the honorable secretary. All legal suits for and on behalf of the association shall be brought in the name of honorable secretary, who shall represent the association in all such matters and engage lawyers, agents, etc. for the purpose. Amendments in the MOA and bylaws. Any proposal for amendment to the MOA and bylaws, that is rules and regulations of the association, shall be submitted to the honorable secretary in the form of a written notice or motion, and if approved by the executive committee, shall be circulated by him or her to all members with voting rights except student members for consideration. Such amendments shall require affirmative vote of two-thirds of the general body members for their adoption. Means any members which want some modification, he or she can make a representation to the honorable secretary, and that he will present before the executive committee. And after executive committee approval, it will be placed before the general body for the final approval. Resignation of the members. The office bearers of the association can submit their resignation to president of the association. The president can submit his or her resignation to honorable secretary of the association. Such resignations would be placed in the subsequent meetings of the executive committee and the general body. Disqualifications of the members. Any members found indulging in unfair activities against the objectives of the association shall be terminated from the membership by the general body on the recommendation of the executive committee. However, the member will be given opportunity to put his or her case to the executive committee prior to the vote being held. So, in this case, we will also try to ensure the natural justice if that person will be given the opportunity to defend his case, his or her case. Removal of the office bearer. Elected and appointed officers may be removed from the office before the end of their regular term by a two-third majority vote of the executive committee in the event that an officer is found in the reasonable opinion of the executive member to have failed to abide by the association's code of professional conduct, policy on harassment and discrimination, and its conflict of interest policy prepared and approved by the general body. So in future, the general body will prepare these documents, and that will be the follow its due course. Be derelict in his or her duties, be under investigation by his or her employer or any third party, including government agencies, the effect of which has or is likely to have a negative impact on the association's reputation, or have conducted themselves in a way that has or is likely to have a negative impact on association's reputation. So through this your activities, we will try to ensure the institution's reputation should be protected in any manner. For avoidance of doubt, this removal power applies to both sitting officers and individuals who have been elected or appointed officers prior to assuming their positions. Prior to vote for removal of an officer, the president will promptly inform the officer in writing of the reasons for the vote and may give the officer an opportunity remedy the situation if the executive committee considers it desirable. The officer will be given an opportunity to put his or her case to the executive committee prior to the vote being held. For avoidance of doubt, an officer who is a member of the executive committee and the subject of the vote is entitled to participate in the vote. So in here also we are trying to ensure the natural justice, and so that that person will be given right to defend, and he will be informed by the president prior to the any vote and any procedures that association will start. Dissolutions. The association may be dissolved through a specific resolution by a two-third majority of the members of the general body present and voting. Those person who will be present and those who have the voting rights, it will be they will decide by two-third majority. And in case of association deciding to cease its activity, its assets shall be transferred to institution in accordance with the advice received from a committee consisting of the past office bearers of the association, president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer who have held office during the last 5 years, during 5 years preceding the cessations of the association. So the last 5 years, office bearers will take the decision that how its assets will be used and like that. And consequential arrangement. When any rules, statutes, or regulations are added to, deleted, or otherwise amended, the executive committee shall, by a resolution, decide the date from which such changes shall come into force and shall also lay down the transitional arrangement that may be necessary for giving effect thereto, subject to ratification by the general body. The Executive Council shall have power to renumber rules, statutes, and regulations in the manner they consider necessary whenever any addition, omission, or alteration is made in such changes in the reference thereto. In case of any other ambiguity about the rules, the Executive Committee is empowered to take appropriate decision. So we have total around eight, you can say, points here in the rules and regulations. And this executive committee will have power to amend it, and the numbering can be changed accordingly. So this briefly, I am just presenting the points.
So any sort of suggestions or comments on any of this? Broadly, I think this is the template provided by Society Registration Act. So basically, it has been just adapted to present situation. There is not so much new material which has been sort of incorporated. The Society Registration Act actually gives a template that this is the template which generally a society should follow. So this disqualification, the dissolution, and all of these are standard language which are provided by the Registrations Act. So if there are no suggestions to amend what Akhilesh has presented, shall we take it? Yeah, go ahead. Yes. We have, yeah. No. Everybody will be eligible to become a member, but this is not limited to what we listed. This is just for signatories, because they have to provide all the details for registrar. There is a lot of documentation which needs to be done. So the association is not only for those 12, 13, 14 members. It is for everyone, all of you. But this is for registration purposes. It requires that minimum 7 people come forward to registrar office and sign, give all the details, their PAN card, Aadhaar card, all kinds of details. So,
Yeah.
so this is not limiting. It is for everyone, all the faculty members of not only ISID but any other organization will be eligible to. Anybody would be available or eligible to join the association. After all, it is for everyone. It's not for. It's not excluding anyone. It's just the starting process.
Sir, I can briefly eligibility about the membership so that if any confusion that can be. Elizabeth, since I wanted to save the time, so I couldn't take it. No, but just 1 minute. Yeah. Life member, just eligibility of the life member. Life members shall be open to researchers, academicians, students, policy analysts, social activities, and other persons interested in development and related issues in general and industrial economics in particular, only if successfully continue their ordinary membership up to 2 consecutive years. The executive committee, in its wisdom, may decide that to directly accord to any senior academician professionals as a life membership of the association without serving as an ordinary member for the 2 years. The signatory of the MOA will be its life member. Ordinary members, the ordinary members on membership on annual basis shall be open to researchers and academicians that I mentioned. The executive committee, in its wisdom, may decide to waive the minimum qualification prescribed for ordinary membership in case of the senior academicians, policy analysts, social activities, and professionals. Student membership, this shall be open to those students enroll on annual basis for postgraduate and doctoral studies. So student membership will be only given to the postgraduate and doctoral studies in the social science.
Yeah.
Institutional members on an annual basis shall be open to universities, colleges, research and other academic institutions, government department, industrial and commercial establishment and business association, and international members, researcher, academician, students, policy analysts, social activities based outside India, either Indians or other nationals can join the association as a ordinary member. So these are the eligibility that they have mentioned. So all you are related to that.
Yeah. So basically, this is broadly, as I said, broadly following the template provided by the Society Registration Act. And if there anybody has any suggestions now or later by email, please send them to Akhilesh. He will see if they can be incorporated into it. And then we move ahead to apply for a registration. Whatever procedures and documentation is required. They require a lot of documentation, as a matter of fact. Okay. So, is there anything to be discussed? Yeah, and I think among the do we need to provide Akhilesh? Akhilesh, you still be there. Do we need to provide the governing body constitution for the registration, or it has to be done after?
No, at the time of registration, we need to provide
I see.
the name of the governing body, president, and secretary and treasurer, and vice president if
Elected.
Yeah.
So, out of these senior people's name, maybe we can consider some names to sort of because they are not here. So obviously we can't finalize it until they are consulted. But Professor K.L. Krishna is the senior most of industrial economics. But he also told me that he would be kind of blessing it, but doesn't want to take any responsibility because of his age. So I thought we request him to be a patron of the association. Everybody agree? Yes. And then among the other very senior people, I thought, subject to all of your suggestions, Professor Deepak Nayak be the first president we invited. Again, we have not checked with him, and yeah, I can, if you all agree, I can tell him that everybody felt unanimously about you, so I'm sure we can persuade him. So everyone has, yes, good. So then, if Professor Deepak Nair accepts to become first president, then the vice president, which is to be elected, I think we should have somebody from the south. So north-south balance. So any suggestions? I mean, among the south-based
Suresh Babu.
Suresh Babu, yeah, Suresh Babu could be, yeah. Yeah. Excellent. So we have, and then which other office bearer?
One office, one secretary and office director.
Secretary and treasurer.
Question is, if it's all right, you may want to consider, other than this list, since Akhilesh has done so much work,
Yeah,
to ask him if he'll be willing to be secretary,
very good idea.
because there will be a lot of work.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Thank you, sir.
So everyone agrees. So the first secretary is standing before us.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, sir.
please take it forward on behalf of all of us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So thank you for giving your support and endorsement to this IDRA. We really look forward to working with all of you, keeping you engaged. And the next conference, hopefully, will be organized under the auspices of this new born association, jointly by ISID. So that is the format. And hopefully, once the association is registered, we will think of launching the journal. And we initially made some inquiries with number of these publishers. So one of them we will sort of engaged to take the journal forward, and Akhilesh will keep you posted with the journal decision once it is taken, and then we will constitute an advisory or editorial board to make sure that quality of journal and paper submissions is maintained, and all of you and your colleagues and friends in your universities will be encouraged to submit good papers. Of course, there will be a peer review process. So this is, I think, a very major step we have taken today of starting a new association, because I used to, when I was growing up as a student myself and researcher and all, I looked around because having been taught by Professor Krishna, I grew up as an industrial kind of researcher interested in industrial economics. But there was no professional body. My friends, including the batchmate in Delhi School of Economics was Mahinder Dev. He worked on agriculture economics. And so he used to tell me that there are two associations to go to, and every year he goes to. There was none for industry. So I think today we are taking a big step to create one, at least. And then I hope, so we will have an outlet for our work collectively. So then I think the follow up of last year's conference, we have discussed about a volume which is in the pipeline coming out very soon, and the policy briefs which have already been put out. The report has already been submitted of last year's conference to ICSR, and the IDRA, this association, was another output or outcome of last year's conference, which has taken very important shape today. With that, I really want to, I think, come to the acknowledgement of all the people who have contributed to make this conference such an enjoyable and rich discussion. I really enjoyed and found it very engaging. And so for that, credit goes to all of you and all our resource persons, including Professor Anantas Nageshwaran, and all the chairpersons and panelists of the plenary sessions and the technical sessions, chairs and discussants, and all of you presenters. So all of this work, was done by our faculty team, coordinated by these two colleagues of mine, and so Anjali Kandan and Santosh Das. But they spearheaded so many committees to do different things to make your stay and your travel smooth. And I hope you found your stay in ISIT campus comfortable. And thank you for taking the trouble of visiting Delhi in this very bad air. To tell you the truth, till the morning of 21st, I was doubtful whether anybody will turn up with such a poor quality. So this is your commitment to industrial development and research on industrial development, that you weathered all of this with us and came together. In fact, first morning session on the 21st, practically the hall was completely full. So very encouraging response, and so for that we are really grateful to you. But as I said, these two coordinators of the conference led this whole process, and I was actually spared, to be telling you the truth. I was able to just work in my office, and they were doing all the work. So I want to really thank them, and I want to invite one of them, Santosh, to acknowledge the contribution of all other colleagues and the faculty members who did, sort of run the conference, and also members of our staff who worked in different committees to make sure everything is delivered perfectly. So, Santosh, you want to? Yeah.
Some of the asking they can get a coffee future.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I will manage. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So it's time to thank you all who have made this conference a success. So I must say, like in this conference, we had like about 140 speakers spoke, including we had 15 parallel sessions, and we had 6 plenary sessions, and 140, to be specific, 138 or 39 speakers spoke in this conference. And
I didn't realize 100.
yeah. And it wasn't also that easy to coordinate with like people from different parts of the country. So thank you so much for coming to the conference and making it a success. To begin with, I would like to extend our warm gratitude to all our distinguished speakers in 6 plenary sessions. Uh, and I would like to thank you all paper presenters who have joined us from various parts of the country and travel long distance, like students and faculty from Kerala, from Tamil Nadu. So they have been able to join us for this conference. So thank you so much. And I thank my colleagues at the Institute, ISID faculty and staff for their hard work in making the conference a success. So thank you so much for all the support that we have received from our staff and faculty. And I must thank Dr. Rejike Joseph, who is heading admin and finance at the moment, for extending his help for the conference. And now it's time to thank different committee members. So we constituted different committees to organize the conference. To begin with, the accommodation committee, which was headed by Dr. Rijesh Raju. So thanks to Rijesh, Dr. Ajit.
Can you stand up?
Yeah. So Dr. Ajit, sorry. Yeah, I'm taking. So Dr. Ajit, Dr. Sanjay,
Stand up. Stand up.
and Mr. Sandeep Pokhriyal, and Dr. Dinesh Diman. Dinesh. So basically, this is our accommodation team who looked after your sort of stay here. Now, thanks to the members of registration committee led by Dr. Surya Tiwari.
Stand up. All the members.
Yeah, and the members includes Dr. Rama Arun Kumar, Professor Seema Goel, Dr. Mahua Paul, Dr. Swati Verma, Dr. Sri Sanyal, so then Dr. Gurupriya, Kusbu Upal, Vaibhav, Subhojit, Usha Doshi, and Mr. Umesh Singh.
Very good.
Coming to next, food committee. So many thanks to Dr.
Food is very
Akhilesh
important.
Sharma. Dr. Akhilesh Sharma, he was the convener of the food committee, and the committee included Mr. Jeet Singh, Mr. Sandeep Pokhriyal, Mr. Dinesh Kumar, and Mr. Sunil Agarwal.
Where is Jeet Singh?
Jeet Singh. Okay. Then coming to IT committee, so led by Dr. Reggie Joseph. So he was the convener of IT committee, and Mr. Bhupesh Gaur, Mr. Dhananjay Kumar, Mr. Rakesh Gupta, and Mr. Bharat Chandan.
Very good.
Now, stage coordination committee. Thanks to Beena Saraswati, Dr. Sangeeta Ghosh, Dr. Swati Verma, Mr. Amitabh Ade, and Mr. Rakesh Gupta, and Mr. Dhananjay. Uh, Now, technical session committee, parallel committees was coordinated by Dr. Sailendra Hooda and Dr. Akhilesh Kumar Sharma. Thank you. Yeah. Now, thanks to members of the outreach committee led by Dr. Sangeeta Ghosh and the member included Mr. Amitabh Dey, who was member of the outreach committee. We're not here. Now, I thank the members of the conference program committee who actually, designed the conference. Convener Dr. Satya Giroy, who is not present, he is traveling. Dr. Rejike Joseph, Dr. Anjali Kandan, and Dr. Sailendra. Sailendra. So our special thanks to Dhananjay and Rakesh ji, who have worked hard for
Where is Dhananjay?
and where is Dhananjay? And they have always responded to
Dhananjay, please come out.
Yeah, he's the person who has been working.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come.
So
You big hand. Where you stand here? Move behind.
yeah, and of course, my sincere thanks to our director, Professor Nagesh Kumar, for conceptualizing and he has been working on the plenary sessions and also on the parallel sessions, and he is actually the backbone of this sort of event. He's driving. So thank you, sir, for so much for actually supporting us. Like Anjali and me, we have got all the support to organize.
And our chair.
Yes. And at the end, we must acknowledge and thank ICSSR for extending financial support in organizing this conference. And also, we would like to acknowledge financial support extended by SIDBI, so ONGC, and IGL. And also, we want to acknowledge the role played by few of our faculty in mobilizing these resources, which includes Dr. Surya Tiwari, Dr. Akhilesh Sharma, Dr. Ajit Jha, and the admin team like Avjit Singh and all. Thank you so much. And finally, I thank all the participants, all of you, for your active engagement, and we look forward to your participation in our future events. So before we close, I would like to sort of mention here. Some of you may have missed, some of the sessions, plenary sessions, but we are going to put it on our YouTube channel, so you can listen to those discussions, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And also, you may please tag ISID on your social media channels, right? And about certificates, so all of you maybe, I mean, you haven't listened about what is happening about certificates. So certificates you will receive on your email. So this time we are not delivering any physical copy. So we'll be emailing you the e-copies, e-certificates. We'll be issuing e-certificates. So hopefully in a week time, you will receive all of
But
them.
it will be individually, signed
Yeah.
and scanned.
Yes. So that you will be receiving. And another request, like all of you who is yet to submit your TA claim form, please submit it at the registration desk. So without TA claim form, we can't process your travel reimbursement. So please do that. And now I request all of you to assemble outside of A block, in front of A block, so that we can have a group picture. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
idea you wanted me to say. Yeah. Well, yes. Yes, of course. Yeah. Santosh mentioned that some of you were inquiring about how to get the copies of IIDR. IIDR was actually launched that day, but we received only few copies, proof copies, from the publisher. And so we wanted to just clear the proof first before ordering the uh, original or a lot of the full lot of the copies, because these days digitally they print any number, and so initially we wanted to see the proof. We didn't have an opportunity to go through the proof. So my hope is that in a week's time it will be all cleaned up and new copies, proper corrected copies will be available. So and we will also be able to send to all of you a PDF or soft copy version. So you will have, I think, a copy in your mailbox. or downloadable version from some way of whatever is convenient, that we will provide. Okay, so with that, let me just thank finally again our two main coordinators, Anjali Tandon and Santosh Das. They have, all of these committees and working with them and overall coordination on top of everything. Okay, give them a very big. So with that, let me hand over back to Chair, and if he has any final thoughts.
I've already said, but it gives me great pleasure, to formally close the conference and wish all of you, those of you who are traveling, going back, etc., a safe journey back.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
So the photograph is the last thing. Yeah. Yeah.
And which is the night show.